Welcome to the Coach's Corner. John Stanko of ICGales.com, being joined by Joe Pienta, director of the cross country team. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me again, John.
Coming off a good race, the 25th annual Brother John Paddy Doyle Meet of Champions. The Iona men's team placing first among 18 teams competing, the women's team placing 10th. Just a couple of your takeaways from that race at Van Cortlandt Park.
Well, John, I'm not sure if you're familiar with our sport. We're not a ball sport like Todd Plord's soccer team. We don't have turnovers or takeaways. There's no offense or defense. It's just a race. I was pretty pleased with it. We had the win on the men's side was a good one. I'm pretty pleased with where our team is at. I think there's more to come. We held out a couple guys. We're getting back to being healthy. John Miller, the 9th, he ran exceptionally well. And I think that was a good sign as a first race as a Gael to get the win. It kind of proved that, hey, this guy can run. But the course did suit him pretty well. He's a hill runner. I mean, he was prancing up those things like Tom Bombadil. But I think there's more to come from him. I think he's in a great spot. Our training's in a great spot on the men's side. On the women's side, we held out. Quite a few of our girls were getting ready for Paul Short in a week and a half. Sophie Murphy ran very well. The only girls who beat her were all NCAA qualifiers, either in cross country or track. So she's in a great spot. I think the 6K is going to suit her really well and the rest of our team. So it was a nice preview for the upcoming season. It's a good test to see where they're at.
Do you know why John Miller just loves the hills so much? We talked to him after the race, and he said he's a climber. Is that something you knew in recruiting him, or is that just the way he's trained now up to this point in his running career?
And so the back hills, Cemetery Hill and things, they were really enjoyable for me. And the flats were okay as well, just flow around nicely. But I'm a climber.
He's just somebody who's loved going up hills his whole life. He's had to battle a lot of uphill battles. And most of those, he was just running up hills.
And somebody who also raced really well, Jack Hopkins, his first long-distance race in, I think, 2 or 3 years, coming from injuries and just all sorts of things. Placed 20th individually. What did you see from his effort and the time he gave?
I was really excited to see Hoppy out there racing. He's been through a lot, probably more than even a lot of our teammates know, coming back from some injuries. But he's never relented in terms of his rehab and just getting back there for the team. The team means more than anything to him, and for somebody who's had so many things kind of come up, a lot of people would throw in the towel, and here he is. Really, it was just awesome seeing him race. If you saw him down the home stretch, he looked like an extra in The Walking Dead coming through. He picked up a little bit of a side stitch, so I don't think he was overly pleased with his result. I think he should have been a little bit closer to his namesake, Jack O'Leary, but for a good result for his first real race in 3 years. And he was somebody at NCAA Regionals in 2016, was 18th. He made our top 7 and he really looked like he had a bright future, and I think he still does. It's just coming, with a little bit of a few hiccups.
So more of an umbrella question here. You get to a cross-country meet, and an hour before the race, players are warming up, teams are warming up. What's your philosophy as a coach getting these players warmed up? Is it team activity? Is it based off the individual student-athlete and the way they like to prep for a race? How do you approach that?
We like to do stuff as a team. The reality is it is an individual sport. About an hour before, you get your stretching in. They'll go for 20, 25-minute jog, loosen up, get a couple quick strides, a couple quicker bursts of running. And everybody has their own little superstitions about what they need to do. Big thing with our sport is bathroom time. And fitting that in, you got to, there's a line at the Porta-John, you got to, is it a number 1 or a number 2? How close to the race do you have to go? So it's one of those things, that's an individual thing. That's something I don't like to get involved in.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse than being caught in the middle of a race and then having to use the restroom. There's no worse feeling than that.
Well, you could ask John Miller. In the middle of a workout, he had to use the bog, and that was a rough one.
That's a tough scene.
Yep.
So next up, you mentioned the Paul Short Invitational hosted by Lehigh, a grand scale event that has a ton of different races. Can you just kind of talk about the scope of what this event is like that Lehigh puts on?
They just put on a great meet. It's huge. There's 3 giant races plus an open race plus high school races. But it's going to be a good opportunity for on our men's side. We'll probably be racing maybe a B+ team. We'll hold out a few guys and focus on later on the season. But it's a good opportunity for a lot of our younger guys to get that experience of being in a big race, being kind of bunched in with a lot of other runners and learning how to race with that. That's the way NCAAs is going to feel. And I think it's going to kind of give us some experience with our younger runners, where they can kind of put it on themselves that they're going to be a part of the top 7 in that race. And potentially later in the road, it's a good test to see where they're at.
All right, well, Director Pienta, thanks for joining us and best of luck.
Thanks, John.